Hey everybody, so it's time for our next induction into the Enforcers Hall of Fame. And the last induction I did a few days ago was Marty McSorley. And in that video I talked about how McSorley was Wayne Gretzky's personal bodyguard and went with Gretzky from Edmonton to LA. And in the comment section it was pointed out that Marty McSorley was not Wayne Gretzky's only bodyguard, and actually Wayne Gretzky's original bodyguard was Dave Semenko. And that's true, and that was rightly pointed out. So I was thinking, who better to induct next than Wayne Gretzky's original bodyguard before Marty McSorley, Dave Semenko. So Dave Semenko is now inducted into my Enforcers Hall of Fame. And Semenko, he never fought a lot. He never had to fight a lot because a lot of people didn't want to fight him. He was absolutely tough as nails, and he never racked up that many fighting majors. But it wasn't because he wasn't tough or that he wasn't willing to go. It's just that a lot of people didn't want to fight him, and if he didn't fight for no reason either. Semenko was a guy who firmly believed that you needed a reason to fight. You didn't fight just to fight. You fought to protect a teammate and to stand up for somebody. So Semenko only had 70 career fights between regular season and playoffs, and the most he ever had in a season was 11. But that doesn't mean he wasn't a tough guy. He was absolutely tough as nails. And between guys not wanting to fight him and not needing to fight all that often, he never racked up the 25, 30 fights in a season that we saw from other guys. But he was just as tough and just as intimidating as anyone else in the league at the time. So Semenko played 9 seasons in the NHL. He played 575 games. He scored 65 goals and 88 assists for 153 points. So, not a bad player either. 153 points at the NHL level is certainly something, he could play hockey too. It's not, like he was only there fighting. And he had 1,175 penalty minutes. So only over 1,000 penalty minutes and not even 600 games. So he was certainly a guy who could get penalty minutes as well. Like I said, he had 70 career fights, not counting preseason. That's just regular season and playoffs. The most fights he ever had in a year, like I just said, was 11, which happened in 1982-83 with the Edmonton Oilers. That also happened to be his best year offensively when he had 12 goals and 15 assists for 27 points. And of his 9 seasons in the NHL, Dave Semenko had 100 penalty minutes in 7 of those 9 seasons. He spent most of his career, almost his whole career, with the Edmonton Oilers. That's obviously, he's best known as an Oiler and had his best years with the Oilers. And, in the early 80s, in mid to mid 80s, he was the Oilers, he was their enforcer, and he was Wayne Gretzky's personal protector. He played with Edmonton from 1979 until 1986. And then during the 86-87 season, after only 5 games with the Oilers, he went to Hartford. He finished the 86-87 season with the Hartford Whalers and played his final season in the NHL with the Toronto Maple Leafs, 87-88. And I believe he had 8 or 9 fights that year with Toronto. But a majority of his career was spent with the Oilers. He's best known as an Oiler, and he's... when you think of Dave Semenko, you think Edmonton Oilers. So Semenko is a guy who, even though his fight numbers weren't all that high, as far as number, he was extremely tough, and he was a guy more than willing to drop the gloves when he needed to, and he absolutely belongs in this Hall of Fame because he protected Wayne Gretzky for the first almost decade of Gretzky's career before Marty McSorley came along. So unfortunately, Dave Semenko passed away about a year and a half ago in 2017 after fighting cancer. But he's absolutely deserving of being here, and he had a great career, and really was an important player for the Oilers and did his job very, very well. Very, very tough guy. A very intimidating guy that a lot of people were afraid of. And you know, when it comes to being an enforcer, you don't have to necessarily fight 25 times a year to be a good enforcer. If people are so afraid of you that they don't even want to fight you, then that's being an enforcer as well. And even though he never had double-digit fights in a regular season. This year that he got to 11, only 9 of those were regular season and 2 of those were in the playoffs. He never had a regular season with double-digit fights. That doesn't make him any less of an enforcer. He was a strong deterrent for touching Wayne Gretzky or any of the star players on the Oilers, because if you touched one of them, you had to deal with him, and nobody wanted to deal with Dave Semenko, so they left those players alone. And they left Semenko alone. They didn't try and get in fights with him because he was so intimidating and people were afraid of him. So, Semenko didn't have the fight numbers that a lot of people, especially through the mid-'80s and late 80s did, where, you start having guys fighting 30 times a year. Semenko was never that guy, but he was a very good enforcer nonetheless. So, Dave Semenko is now inducted into the Enforcer Hall of Fame. I hope you enjoyed this video. Like, comment, share, subscribe, follow on social media. Check out offthewallhockey.com. All those links in the description below. Keep spreading the word about this channel. Let's keep this thing growing. If you have any suggestions on who else should be inducted into this Hall of Fame, put them down in the comments below. I certainly have people in mind always. But I've obviously not gotten even too far into this list. There's still a long way to go. But suggestions are always welcome and appreciated. So throw them down. I'll look up the numbers and make sure that they fit and that they work. But for the most part, they'll probably get in if they're a big name enforcer from the past. And yeah, so suggestions are always welcome. Thank you guys so much for watching. Really appreciate it. Hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll talk to you guys soon.